The big story today, it's all over the newspapers, radio, television, is Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, has been across to France and done a deal with her counterpart. Yes, it's great. It's so great. You can't believe it. We're going to pay the French even more money. This year, it will be £63 million. And that's after all the previous years, when it's 20, 30, 40, 50 million. Does it actually make any difference? Is it a breakthrough, as the Home Secretary says? Well, before we get to that, just to bring you up to speed, officially, 972 came into the port of Dover on Saturday. Yesterday, 843 came into the port of Dover. And as we speak, there are boats crossing the English Channel. Expect within 48 hours to hear that Manston, once again, is totally overwhelmed and people are literally being dumped at railway stations. But it's even worse than that. I'm now getting an increased number of reports of boats landing on Kent beaches, some of them being apprehended by the police, but others disappearing. Cars ready to pick people up and take them straight into the drugs trade, the sex trade, criminality, crime, violence, and all those things that go with it. This isn't getting better. This is actually getting worse. Many of these people who now come don't want a nice hotel. They don't want 3 square meals a day. They don't want a doctor, a dentist, and 38 quid a week pocket money. No, a lot of the new ones that are coming want to disappear straight off into crime. When they do go to hotels, if they're picked up, they're now absconding in absolutely huge numbers. So that gives you some context of where we are now. I also must add that a friend of mine was over in Dunkirk on Saturday, went along the beach, went round the camps, said he's never seen so many people waiting to cross. And what the traffickers are doing, they're saying, the British will change the law soon, so get in now while you can. Oh, we've got a cut price deal, only €3,000. That is what's going on. Now, we're going to get some wind the next few days, but between now and Christmas, we get any calm conditions, the numbers coming could be absolutely vast. We're around about 1,000 a day now when it's calm. It's going to be even bigger than that. So the 63 million quid won't change anything. And even if interceptions on French beaches go up to the target of 75%, what's the point? You intercept them, you put a knife in the dinghy, they come back the next day. They come back the next day with a different dinghy, and the same people cross and they boast about it on TikTok. None of this works. We've got to stop giving money to the French. We can spend that money better here at home for people that are struggling. We've also got to stop blaming the French, right? I know it's an easy hit. Yeah, of course, they want to get rid of the problem. Truth is, they are launching off a stretch of French coastline that is 70 miles long. Behind it, 100 square miles of sand dunes. Why on our side we've got all the shingle and the French have got all the sand, I will never know. It doesn't seem fair to me. But it's so easy for them to hide in that vast area. If you were going to police that beach, you'd need 10,000 people. It just isn't possible. The cost of it would be literally astronomical. Now, they're coming because we're not sending them back. They're coming, in the case of Albania, from a NATO member, an EU applicant, and a holiday destination for tens of thousands of Brits. Every single one of them should be deported immediately, but they're not. A few get deported, those that are generally caught doing criminal acts, but they know it's a 95% chance, plus they'll stay in the UK. If they're coming from anywhere outside of Albania, they now have a 100% chance of staying. And that's why we're through 40,000. And if nothing's done next year, it will be 100,000. But it isn't just about cost. It isn't just about hotels being filled up. And by the way, interesting, isn't it, that in Cornwall, John Mappin at Camelot Castle refused the £1 million that was offered him by the Home Office. They've now just taken 6 hotels, the Home Office or their contractor, 6 hotels in Cornwall. And guess what? All the local staff have been sacked. I mean, this whole thing is a disgrace. But it's even bigger and broader and deeper than that. Have a look at these scenes from London, Saturday, the 10th of November. I was first alerted to it by a friend, a military veteran, who'd gone with colleagues to pay their respects at the Cenotaph and have a bit of an annual reunion. London was full of people doing that kind of thing ahead of the big Cenotaph ceremony that, of course, took place at 11 o'clock on Sunday. He started to send me through this video footage. Firstly, Albanians had taken over Westminster Bridge. Then they marched through Parliament Square, chanting, carrying placards. They then defaced Churchill's statue with an Albanian flag. And they're basically upset that the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, has for once actually called out the truth, which is not only is it criminals bringing people across the English Channel, but it's now criminals bringing criminals across the English Channel, and that fact is now indisputable. Even at Manston, Border Force have said some of these new arrivals pose a threat to national security. But think more broadly, think more deeply. The sheer level of not just illegal, but legal immigration as well is changing in some quarters our country beyond recognition. Those Albanians that protested on Saturday clearly didn't know that it was our Remembrance Weekend, clearly didn't know that it was the most reverential weekend of the year, where we pay our respects to the massive sacrifice, not just the nearly 1.5 million killed, but the millions of others maimed, wounded, yes, in 2 great wars, but right through into Iraq and Afghanistan. They clearly didn't understand it. They clearly couldn't care less that it was our Remembrance Weekend. And that's what's being done to our country. We've opened the door. We're changing the country beyond recognition. And nobody in Westminster, and I mean almost nobody in the Conservative or Labour parties, frankly, gives a damn. We need a political revolution. And this next one has to be even bigger than Brexit.